The arena thundered with alien voices, a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and guttural roars that shook the reinforced glass observation decks. Lewis stood in the center of the combat pit, his breathing steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. Across from him, bathed in the violet glow of the overhead lights, stood Zixithara, or as the human colonists had nicknamed her, Anna. She was magnificent. Nearly 7 feet tall, with iridescent scales that shifted from deep purple to silver depending on her mood, forearms that ended in claws sharp enough to cut through steel, and eyes like molten gold that had never known defeat. She was the champion of the Karath Empire, undefeated in 347 matches across 12 star systems. "You are small," Anna said, her translator rendering her chittering speech into flat, emotionless English. "Weak, fragile, this will be quick." Lewis rolled his shoulders, testing the weight of the plasma staff they'd given him. "That's what the last guy said." Anna's head tilted, a gesture that might have been curiosity. "The last human lasted 14 seconds. You will not do better. We'll see." The gong sounded, a deep, resonating tone that signaled the beginning of combat. Anna moved with predatory grace, all 4 arms spreading wide as she circled him. Lewis had studied the recordings of her previous fights until his eyes ached. He knew her patterns, her preferences. She liked to intimidate first, to let her opponents exhaust themselves with panic before she struck. He didn't give her the satisfaction. Instead, he attacked. The plasma staff hummed as he swung it in a tight arc, forcing Anna to step back. Her eyes widened, surprise perhaps, or was it amusement? She blocked his second strike with one arm while another lashed out, claws extended. Lewis dropped low, feeling the displacement of air as her strike passed overhead, and swept the staff at her legs. She leapt impossibly high, and came down with all 4 fists aimed at where he'd been standing. He wasn't there. The human capacity for endurance, for strategic thinking, for unpredictability, these were things the Karath had dismissed as irrelevant in a species they'd conquered 40 years ago. They were learning differently now. The fight continued for 3 minutes, then 5, then 10. The crowd's roar had shifted from bloodthirsty anticipation to confused murmuring. Anna's scales had darkened to deep indigo. Anger, Lewis had learned. She wasn't used to prey that fought back intelligently. "Stand still," she snarled, launching herself at him with renewed fury. Lewis sidestepped, but not quite fast enough. One of her secondary arms caught him across the ribs, and he felt something crack. Pain exploded through his torso, but he channeled it, used it to fuel his next move. As Anna's momentum carried her past him, he brought the plasma staff down on her back. The weapon discharged on contact. Anna screamed, a sound that cut through every other noise in the arena, and collapsed to one knee. Her scales flickered erratically, shifting through colors Lewis had never seen before. He could end it now. One more strike to the back of her head and the champion would fall. Instead, he stepped back and lowered his weapon. The arena fell silent. "Get up," Lewis said quietly. Anna's head turned slowly, those golden eyes fixed on him with an intensity that was no longer merely violent. "Why?" "Because I don't need to beat you while you're down. Get up and let's finish this properly." For a long moment she didn't move. Then slowly she rose to her full height. Her scales had shifted again to a color Lewis didn't recognize, pale silver with threads of gold. Her translator remained silent, but she made a gesture with her upper right hand that Lewis had seen in the cultural briefings. Acknowledgement of honor. When she attacked again, it was different. Faster, yes, but also more focused. This wasn't about domination anymore. This was about testing herself against someone she'd finally recognized as worthy. They traded blows for another 5 minutes. Lewis's cracked ribs screamed with every movement, but he pushed through. Anna was bleeding from a dozen small cuts, her movement slightly slower than before. They were both exhausted, both operating on willpower alone. And then Lewis saw his opening. Anna overextended on a strike, putting too much weight forward. Lewis pivoted, brought the staff around in a perfect arc, and caught her across all 4 arms simultaneously. The plasma discharge triggered again, and Anna's weapons clattered to the ground. Before she could recover, Lewis had the staff at her throat. "Yield," he said. The silence stretched for an eternity. Then Anna's scales shifted to that pale silver gold again, and she spoke in her own language, bypassing the translator. "I yield." The arena erupted, but Lewis barely heard it. He lowered the staff and extended his hand, a human gesture Anna wouldn't understand. Except she did. She reached out with her upper right hand and grasped his. "There is a tradition among Kyrath warriors," Anna said, her scales flickering, "a promise made before combat. If defeated by one deemed worthy, we bond our honor to theirs, forever." Lewis blinked. "Wait, what?" "I made this promise before each fight. No one was ever worthy." Her golden eyes met his. "You are worthy, Lewis of Earth. My honor, my service, my life, they are yours now." "I didn't agree to this." "Neither did I when I made the promise," Mana said, and for the first time her translator conveyed something that might have been rueful amusement. "But Kyrath do not break their word. Where you go, I follow. What you fight? I fight beside you." Lewis stared at her, at this 7-foot warrior who had terrorized the sector, and felt the weight of human stubbornness settle over him. "Fine, but if we're doing this, you're learning to play chess." Anna's scales flickered through a rapid sequence of colors. Her translator was silent, but Lewis could have sworn she was laughing. In the years that followed, the story of how Earth's first diplomatic liaison accidentally acquired an alien bodyguard and life partner would become legend. But that was a story for another time. For now, they simply walked out of the arena together, past the shocked crowds and bewildered officials, into whatever strange future awaited them. Humanity had a habit of turning conquest into companionship. The galaxy was still learning that lesson.